Enfuegotainment.
Papagena. Oh, Viva.
Enfuegotainment viene gudi como tú.
Il potito come tu monteva.
Jaime, fuego, comandito with the war.
Fuego Cecil Laird.
And thank you for listening to us talk as minions there for a moment. You can guess what we're talking about in Enfuegotainment today.
Oh, hello, Papagena. Tu le bella con la papaya.
Ladies and gentlemen, Scarlet Overkill!
Have any of you ever dreamt of working for the greatest supervillain of all time?
La bella.
I love you, Scarlet! I wanna be the villain.
These are the new recruits.
Scarlet, mi hermano caputo.
No, don't say anything. I won't understand.
Another bit of animated mischievousness, right, Cecil?
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Like we've said before, there's nothing like edge, like a good cartoon.
I know, man. The hottest entertainment with an edge. Yeah, I guess this is us taking an askew path at times. But hey, Universal knew they had a blockbuster on their hands here, and I'm sure it made a ton of cash, right? The first two Despicable Me's did.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure this just followed suit, although it may or may not have been worth it, which is what we're about to get into.
Exactly right. Here on Enfuegotainment, where we cover the hottest entertainment with an edge, cinema in this particular instance, we like to talk about the bueno, the malo, and the feo. And to be fair, you know, there was a little bit of everything in this one, I'd say, right?
Yeah, it was a little all over the map, although I was leaning a little bit more towards one over the other, but I'll get to that at my turn.
I guess we'll find out. Bueno, you know, this is supposed to be a prequel to the first two films that made like truckloads of money. You had Steve Carell from The Office, who's gone on to bigger and better things, doing stuff like Foxcatcher, really spreading his wings as a dramatic actor. But hey, this would have been a paycheck, but instead there's someone else stepping into his place, and he just had a small little vocal cameo.
Absolutely, which might be a bit of a spoiler for you, but nonetheless, it was an interesting take on, basically, you take the minions away from Gru and you see if they can stand on their own, whether it be actually on their own or underneath another boss, as it were. And
characters talking complete gibberish the entire time.
The entire movie, so
somehow trying to put a plot line forward with these guys doing it.
Yeah, and you know, I unfortunately didn't think it worked quite as well as they might have wanted it to. But we're not starting with the feo, we're starting, or with the malo rather, we're starting with the bueno. So, Jaime, what did you like about the minions?
Bueno, you know, the particular period that they took, I can't help but love the 60s. It takes place in 1968. I'm a softie for that era, man, as many people are, which is probably why they chose it. They're like, a lot of the parents and grandparents taking their kids to see this movie are of that era, and I mean, as far as art goes, as far as music goes, it was pretty significant, right?
Yeah, I figured you might bring up the music aspect of it, because that, honestly, here's the weird thing about the music. They use nothing but really good music from the time.
Exactly.
But it didn't really jibe with the Minions movie. Like, I felt that every time the music came on, I was pulled right out of the movie, and I'm like, oh, okay, another 60s classic that now we get to see Minions run around to.
Another little mini music video with the Minions dancing around.
Yeah, really. So that was a little bit weird. The music is good, but it doesn't jibe with the actual movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, some of this music is overused at this point. I mean, I did kind of shrug a little bit, I should say, when I heard Light My Fire, or actually, no, not Light My Fire, Break On Through, I should say. I'm a big Doors fan here. What's my problem?
Break On Through, and you got a little bit of Jimmy, and
yeah, got some Hendrix, some Who. I mean, a little bit of everything, but all familiar tunes. Maybe not as much so to the younger audience that this is targeted at. So.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I don't think it's going to be anything where like any of the kids are like, "Ooh, I want to know what that song was. I want to know what that song was." That was strictly, I think, just for the adults watching the movie.
And I mean, Mas Bueno, the Minions are cute. The Minions are fun, and they make you chuckle, even if there isn't much rhyme or reason to their wackiness. I mean, they are adorable. They're obviously a cash grab, and that's why this franchise has done so well. But hey, I am susceptible to their cuteness myself as well. I can't help it.
Yeah, you know, I don't know. You might have gotten a bit more enjoyment out of the movie than me, because here's the thing. I'm going to stick with the bueno. So what I liked about it is there was a lot of funny sight gags that weren't emphasized. Like there's the, you know, whatever the main character at the time is doing, or the person, or the character front and center, and
Whichever
oftentimes, villain or one of the three main minions that we see, and they're often there, and then they'll often, you know, walk off screen, and then you're left with a few sight gags. If you look around the screen, there's the other minions are doing something funny, or some of the other people are doing something funny, because the setting actually wasn't bad.
No.
The idea is, as you know from the trailers, the minions are searching for a master pre-Gru, and they keep finding all these bosses, but they keep accidentally killing them.
Yeah.
And so
for a kids movie, lots of killing.
Yeah. So, so they end up getting to New York in the '60s, and they see a commercial for, and this is what I wasn't expecting, because they don't really talk about it much. Is they see a commercial for Villain Con.
They somehow know how to hook up a TV and know what TV is.
There's a lot of things you just kind of have to go with in this movie.
It's a kids movie.
Yeah, exactly. But so they go to Villain Con, and it's a convention for villains. So it's having, you know, San Diego Comic Con has just passed, so it's all fresh in our heads.
I would like to go to Villain Con.
Yeah, it'd be pretty fun, and you know, all the bad guys and bad people, bad families, whatever, they all gather together, and that was kind of an interesting idea, and that's where they sort of link up with the other lead of the movie, played by Sandra Bullock.
Yeah.
And that's where sort of the story goes after that.
And that's probably a good way to segue into some of my Malo, because, you know, I thought Steve Carell's voice work as a lead in the film was much more inspired. Sandra Bullock, you know, I think you really are better at emoting and just physical acting, especially in the dramatic variety. You know, she's really shown her chops lately. Doing voiceover work in a kid's film, she didn't bring it, man. At least in my opinion.
I mean, you have to have characters, and that's the thing. Her voice is very straightforward, and she didn't try and modulate it at all, or like she, you know,
and you couldn't really tell it was her because her voice isn't as distinctive as some of these other people.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, and that's part of the problem. You know, when you don't have a character that's like even fun to listen to, it was just like mad Sandra Bullock a lot of the time.
Yeah, I was waiting for more Minions. Yeah, I was waiting for more of that instead of Sandra Bullock talking. So
honestly,
definitely Malo.
Sandra Bullock's like husband character was more fun to watch than she was.
Much more so.
Because he was more of a character and just had kind of more to do, and she was just so...
He's a little more multi-dimensional too. He's having fun with the minions, not trying to like kill them. Well, he tried to... Well,
a little bit, yeah.
Spoiling,
She's just too much of a straight man in this movie, you know? Like, you can't have... I guess there's always a straight man, but when your main villain, Gru substitute, is that much of a straight man in the movie, or straight woman, however you want to put it, you know what I mean? It's just not interesting. And that's going to segue into some of my Malo, and that's that you are following characters that speak gibberish, so you can't get invested in what they're saying. Well, it's gibberish mixed with Spanish, because there was a lot of
Amigo,
¿Qué pasó? And all this stuff. Like, there was a lot of that stuff. There was a little bit of, I think, French thrown in and all that
Italian,
stuff.
Yeah. So it was supposed to be a smattering of so many different.
Yeah, but to me, the Spanish was a lot more recognizable, so that was kind of weird.
Yeah.
But
hey,
yeah, when you...
I mean, Fuego likes that part.
But you're following characters that aren't speaking a real language, and you don't have a way to, you know... The strongest movies have main characters that the audiences can put themselves in the shoes of.
Truly.
Or relate to. And the minions just are not relatable. Like, if you're a kid, okay. But
if you're
for
a very
adults,
small kid who can't even speak very well,
then that makes sense and everything. But yeah, so when you're following that and then you're doing just sort of a blah story, it just wasn't that interesting to me.
Very by the numbers, ill-inspired, as you mentioned, lots of set pieces. But it felt just so... just waiting for the next funny Minions gag as opposed to a real narrative that was going forward.
And unfortunately, I didn't find there were that many funny Minions gags. Like, I just didn't. I wasn't in like a bad mood
King
or anything.
Bob.
No, because it was too easy. Like, they just didn't do enough unique, funny stuff. It was just, okay, the Minions are being silly, but I'm not...
They're dropping microphones like they're rappers and stuff like that.
Okay, and we saw that in the trailer, so I'm like, that wasn't a big surprise. So I don't know. I was just disappointed in the overall presentation when Despicable Me and 1 and 2 both had, you know, concrete stories and a character that you could get behind. The Minions.
Well, and also a relationship that made sense because, you know, Steve Carell's, goodness, I can't even remember the name of his particular villainous character off the top of my head. Groot, yeah, exactly. His relationship with those kids was, in my opinion, the driving thread of those two films.
Yeah.
And it was the Minions that were secondary and kind of a cute, funny afterthought that worked as a good supplementary
That's
thing.
exactly right.
You know, as opposed to just, hey, there's center spotlight now, and what are we going to do with them?
They're definitely way better serving as secondary characters than primary characters.
I wouldn't go as far as one note joke, but pretty stinking close, man.
Yeah, it was really juvenile. And coming off of our last animated movie, which was Inside Out.
Which is a good segue for the Feo, man. Minions turned out to be the type of fears that I had about Inside Out as far as just playing slapstick to a T and not having as much to say. I think there's going to be a lot of bored parents in Minions in contrast with Inside Out, and this is definitely Feo. Inside Out had a lot to say. This had donuts to say and nothing to say. Nothing whatsoever.
There was, absolutely. That's very true. There was no lessons.
Yeah.
It was literally
teaching kids to idolize villains.
Yeah, I mean it's the equivalent of having just a completely wasteful meal. Like there's like something that's just, you know,
Going
nothing.
to McDonald's
air.
where the Minions toys probably are right now.
Yeah, exactly. As opposed to a good steak dinner where you get, you know, the meat and potatoes and all this good aspects of story.
Some nice grilled broccoli or, but I don't know, zucchini in their case, yellow squash, I don't know.
Or fried bananas. I don't know.
They love their bananas.
But and that's there's just so it's so anyway, it just there was absolutely nothing to be told in the movie. And so I guess
cute. It was, I mean, occasional little chuckle.
But that was about it. That was about it. And the ugly the Feo for me, I would, you know, it's tough to really even point it out. I would say all the weird sexual gags, like the thong.
Yeah, that was uncalled for.
Yeah, and
it just felt forced and strange.
And
like little kids aren't going to find this funny.
Like
I don't think adults are going to either.
Stuff, and it's like, okay,
getting in the hot tub with the ladies.
Yeah, the fire hydrants, and it's like, okay, this is just a little weird, and I don't understand it. But
and there was a lot of death too, which I thought was kind of amusing because even though it was like Wile E. Coyote type death,
yeah, definitely,
it's not like you saw the characters afterwards. They were in fact done.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, there were some funny gags as to why, but then that was it, and it was the same thing over and over again.
One trick pony, man. I hate to say it, but in this case, Minions, that's what you were. So
yeah, unfortunately so.
For a film that annihilated the box office as expected, second highest grossing animated film ever. How about that?
Oh my God,
Topped
seriously?
100 million. Yeah,
Jesus.
It's pretty wild. So that it is what it is. I'm sure it's going to make a ton of money and not a terrible film, but just kind of forgettable.
It's just complete fluff. Yeah,
You know?
I mean, there's no substance at all.
Yeah, exactly. No substance. Sorry, I'm going to start singing Bad Religion right now. There's no substance. So I will leave it at that and extend a grande gracias to all of you guys. Listen to Bad Religion. That's totally off topic. But I'm going to extend a grande gracias to Cecil for talking and I guess suffering through Minions with me this evening. It was a lot of fun regardless, as it always is.
I was hoping for more, but this happens, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Next week we have Ant-Man, so pretty stoked about that. And what is this horrific show that's not quite as frightening as Minions, but still a good scare fest that we do together?
Yeah, you can check us out. We do a horror variety show on YouTube called The Horror Show. It's at youtube.com/The Horror Show channel or thehorrorshowchannel.com. And we do movie reviews, how-tos, comedy sketches. We actually just posted our first set of movie reviews for season 3, which was The Babadook, both spoiler and non-spoiler. So whether you've seen it or not, we've got you covered on the reviews.
Yeah.
And then we've got some cool interviews on there, celebrity interviews, a good interview with one of my favorite authors coming up. So lots of good stuff on the channel, you guys. Check it out.
Yeah, tons to keep an eye out for. And I, Jaime Enfuego, can be found on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all those social media sectors I'm waiting and discussing all kinds of forgettable things. So in any event, once again, gracias to Cecil here.
Thank you.
Gracias to peeps for tuning in. And until I see all of you next time, adios, amigos.
Abadida.
Enfuegotainment. Sweet.